May I request everyone to please sit down, take the chair. Now we are going to start the session, next session, session 2. Namaskar, Swadikab. We are now starting with session 2 of the Hindu Media Conference, Policy Regulation and Technology in Fast-Changing Media Landscape. It gives me immense pleasure to invite the distinguished session chair and speaker to the dais. Shri Uday Mahurkar, author, historian, former Information Commissioner, Bharat. Please. Shri Ramsundar Lakshminarayanan, founder, Hindumisia.ai. Please. Shri Abhijit Majumder, co-founder, Earshot, consulting editor, CNN-News18. Shri Iskaran Bhandari, Supreme Court Advocate, Bharat. Shri Uday Mahurkar, former chairman, former Information Commissioner, Bharat, and a well-known author who believes in nation-first ideology of Veer Savarkar. He has 3 books to his credit, 2 of them on PM Modi's governance model. His new book is on Veer Savarkar's efforts to prevent Bharat's partition and his national security vision. He has expertise on 3 subjects: radical Islamic movements, Veer Savarkar, and PM Modi's governance. As chief patron of Save Culture, Save India Foundation, he has launched a countrywide mission against sexually perverted contents in OTT, social media, film, and via pornography. Shri Ramsundar Lakshminarayanan is an IT executive management consultant with over 25 years of global experience. He is the founder of Hindumisia.ai, an AI-based platform that tracks anti-Hindu hate in social media. He considers this as an important milestone in his decolonization journey. Ram is one of the national convener of the Indic Academy in US. He has written for P Gurus, Indicto Today, India Facts, My Land Bakers, and Swaraj magazine. Ram is passionate about harnessing AI technologies to develop practical and meaningful application to serve Hindu Dharma. Shri Abhijit Majumder is the journalist with over 25 years of experience. He is co-founder and editor-in-chief of Bharat's first Dolby Atmos-enabled audio broadcast video production platform, Earshot. He is also consulting editor with CNN-News18. Abhijit has been the editor of Midday, Hindustan Times, Delhi and NCR editions, Mail Today, and Asianet News. He is a strong presence on social media with more than 500,000 Twitter followers. He is currently writing a book on India's new right for Blue One Inc. Sri Iskaran Bhandari is an advocate practicing in Supreme Court and High Courts of Bharat for the past 15 years. He is a columnist, political analyst, media commentator, and public speaker. He has done more than 2,000 prime-time television debates with both in English and Hindi, and written columns for national newspapers on both political and legal issues. Iskaran has a significant social media presence with more than 2 lakh subscribers across various platforms such as YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Now I request Shri Uday Mahurkar ji to take that forward.
Namaste friends. Bharat Mata ki Jai. I thank World Hindu Congress and Vikram Sharma for having me here. Friends, I am known for my frankness. My forte is Veer Savarkar, Chhatrapati Shivaji, distortions in Indian history, Narendra Modi model of governance, and radical Islamic movements. The subject of today's panel discussion is not exactly my forte, but in the chair, I'll try to do justice to it. The media landscape is changing rapidly with the advent of new technology and models, necessitating governments to keep pace with corresponding policy and regulatory frameworks. Boundaries between traditional and the new age media and local and global content are fast blurring. AI has added another dimension to the threat of information imperialism that big tech already poses. Are we ready for the challenges and opportunities these developments present? Now we'll look at what is the Indian way of looking at it, looking at the challenges and opportunities that are involved in this subject. There are two ways. One is to keep ourselves ahead in technology. For that, we need money to stay ahead. And the second option is tackling the challenge through regulation. China has had the advantage of Chinese language, a certain Chinese nationalism pushed by a one-party system. And that's how they have created a Chinese language wall. And that's how their Weibo, WeChat, and Baidu are succeeding against Twitter, WhatsApp, and Google. But coup, despite government's very patriotic efforts, has not done so well as in the case of China. The reason? Our people's comfort with English language, and if I am correct, a certain lack of sense of nationalism due to left liberal influence over the years. I remember one very good film which the government of India has put in circulation, which says that buying Chinese goods is equivalent to supporting the Chinese soldier on the border. But still, I've got two relatives who just bought 2 Chinese-made phones. So I'm telling you with this example. What are the challenges due to technology? That is one point. Then do we need legal unilateralism or legal exceptionalism to challenge this, which the US model is teaching us? US purposely not a member of Indian International Court of Justice, International Crimes Court, and UN Convention of Law of the Seas. That's how US is tackling these problems, The other way is aggressive Chinese nationalism, which is difficult to replicate in a multi-party system like India. And third is buying technology with money muscle. But there is an opportunity also. We have got a massive talent pool, which everybody knows about, which is dominating all the developed countries. The world's frustration with China can bring both capital and technology from developed countries and have in fact already started doing so. US-India cooperation in artificial intelligence is in fact embedded in US fear of the Chinese. US has started closing doors to China, which is India's opportunity. Friends, I want to bring one more issue before you today, which I think is a biggest challenge to our vision of a great nation, and for which regulation is very, very necessary. As told in my introduction, I run a movement called Save Culture, Save India Mission, whose job is to expose such filmmakers on OTT, social media, films, and through pornography, who are selling sexually perverted content in the name of entertainment. This is the biggest challenge to the society. This movement I started in December last. In the last 11 months, we got enough material to prove that the increasing rapes, which are becoming more and more horrendous, are embedded in this content. Recently, one principal of a school in Dungarpur in Rajasthan raped 6 girls of his school over a period of 1 year. And when he was arrested, following a complaint made by one of the girls, he said, I used to see all this stuff on the phone and I could not control myself. In 80% of the FIRs, almost 90%, it is mentioned in the statement of the rapist, alleged rapist, that I saw this stuff on the phone and I could not control myself. So this is the biggest challenge to the nation. And I think regulation is very, very necessary. We have started fighting on 2 fronts. One, we are encouraging people who are fighting on this front at individual level. And second, we are fighting for a strong regulation. Self-regulation is not working. And so I have come up with a very, very tough, even harsh solution, but I stick to it. Many people here might not agree, but I think the time has come for India to come up with a law of ethics code for audiovisual films, which will define permissible limit for every audiovisual film for theme, scene, clothes, and language. If you are seeing OTT, you can't see a single film. This is a situation. Together with your family. And that law will declare this as anti-national activity. The way America has come very strongly on drug peddling, same way we need to come strongly on this. I have given one memorandum to Arjun Ramji Meghwal, the law minister, saying that the law of ethics code will say in the preamble that these filmmakers are doing more damage to the nation than what Alauddin Khilji or Aurangzeb did. And therefore, we need this law. And in this, it should be declared as anti-national activity. Those who are producing it and those who are circulating it. 10 to 20 years of imprisonment, much less than what is prescribed in America for drug peddling. No bail for 3 years. One who is violating this law, certain sections of the law. Third, summary trial in 4 months. And fourth, the onus, the burden of proof should be on the accused. A lot of people think this is very, very harsh, but I think this is how we can save the nation. Otherwise, what will happen? We'll become an economic superpower, we'll become a military superpower, we'll become a scientific superpower, but we'll end up becoming a culturally pauper nation, like many countries in the West. So I now invite you to join this discussion. We have got 3 very distinguished panelists who have a proven record of working for nationalist causes, for Hindu causes. Ramsundar Das, Ramsundarji, Abhijit Majumder and Ishkaran Mandari, all three are very well versed on this subject. I think each of them will do justice to it. Ramsundarji, aaiye aap, please come.
Excuse me, do we have a pointer? Oh. Thank you. All right, folks, I got about 10 minutes. I need to say a kutti story in those 10 minutes. I'll try my best, okay? I have about 10 to 12 slides to actually cover. I launched this platform called Hindumisia.ai to track anti-Hindu hate on Twitter, leveraging artificial intelligence and related, technologies. We live in an interconnected world where, information flows freely, between communities, I think across regions, borders, so on and so forth. And anti-Hindu hate is one of the free information that we actually get. And social media actually amplifies this problem. That's the main reason why I actually wanted to put a product in place for us to be able to track it. The other motivation was quite historic, actually. It was Mr. Manishankarayya's comment almost 10 years ago that led me to actually analyze his own writings to see how the Hindu sentiment, how the hate sentiment was. I used certain primitive techniques available at that time to be able to track it. And then, since I think a lot of water has flown down the technology bridge, one thing led to another. I was finally able to, put together a tool that would track anti-Hindu hate on Twitter called the Global Anti-Hindu Scorecard. That was the first product that we actually put out about a year and a half ago. That was derailed by Mr. Musk, because he started charging for tweets. And I had to repurpose the model. While we were working on repurposing the model, I went and did something similar on YouTube, kind of sourced YouTube data to identify influencing channels on few topics. Of late, about 2 months ago, I launched Atrocity Analytics, which is basically the same AI model, repurposed to go and quantify and visualize hate in all this atrocity literature. The first report that we published was on James Mill's history book, published in 1817. The next one, I know it's out there on the slide. I was hoping actually I'll be able to do it before this conference. I could not complete that report. That report will be based on E.V. Ramasamy Nayakar's Ramayana True Reading, actually, which is something that I'll be publishing at, next month. Okay. What made Hindumisia.ai possible? Frankly speaking, or simply put, a concept called language model. I'm sure you would have heard about this, this sentence or phrase in the last 1 year since the advent of ChatGPT, right? Language model is actually a model that will predict the next word in a sentence. That's its basic capability. Today you have language models that can potentially write academic papers, respond to exam questions, so on and so forth. All it does is it'll try to predict the next word in a sentence. This capability, was kind of achieved over a period of few decades, actually, in fact. I think it started in 1987 when a concept paper for machines to have the ability to learn was published. Because if AI's goal is to mimic human behavior, one of the human behavior is to actually learn. Although my father may disagree, but one of the goals of AI is to actually mimic human behavior. And the concept paper was published in 1987. And I think that led to a spurt of academic research. And then I think in about a decade or two, that capability was, that concept, I should say, was converted into a capability in the 2000s called reinforcement learning that you actually see. Google in 2018 released state-of-the-art language model called BERT. All the ChatGPTs that you see today, ChatGPTs and Claudes of the world and all that stuff, were spin-offs of Google's BERT. So Hindumisia.ai was actually based on Google's BERT that was released in 2018. In the last 70 years, AI's story has been a story of hope, hype, and failures for the first 30, 40 years. ChatGPT actually changed it now, you know. So it's the first mass product from the field of AI. There has been none before. ChatGPT, Claude's of the world, and there are so many AI tools that's coming out in the market every day. That's because of this concept called language model, okay? Why is it important to track online anti-Hindu hate? You know, we published a report in May of 2023 called the Global Anti-Hindu Report, sourcing data from Twitter from March of 2022 to December of 2022. We were able to map the real-world violence. We mapped all the events that kind of triggered anti-Hindu hate between March and December of 2022. You see those top three: Kashmir Files, the Nupur Sharma episode, and the UK violence, right? Two of them actually led to physical violence, physical threats and violence. In fact, one of them led to murder as well, actually. So, you know, one of the reasons for me trying to do this is to capture that evidence. You know, we had, I think in the previous session, people are talking about gathering evidence, right? So this is one of them, actually. So this is the reason why we need to start tracking anti-Hindu hate using all the latest that the technology can actually offer, okay? Okay. How all we can actually use AI in terms of countering anti-Hindu hate, right? See, there are a lot of recent developments in the field of AI that can help us generate content, you know, generate our own narratives with scale and speed. I look at them in two different ways. One is called as offensive priorities, where you play on the front foot. Another is the defensive priorities, where you kind of play on the back foot. These are some generic opportunities that are out there as far as leveraging AI and the generative AI capability that's out there for us today, okay? Now, I have certain ideas that I've listed here. These are suggestions for us to be able to implement. I'm not going to read through all of them, actually. I do want to highlight two. One is the multilingual translation that you see, which is the third one, and then the last one is the games. See, I know we are bent on creating a lot of information for our audience. You know, there's a lot, there are a lot of portals, podcasters doing this in English and in all the other Bharatiya languages. I think we should think beyond Indian languages. If, let's say, Hinduism is growing in Africa, why can't we translate all our content in appropriate African languages? You take one or two languages, you can cover entire South America, right? I think we should just think outside the bun, if you will, or outside the box. Look at additional languages that they can certainly publish our content. That's one. Second one that I want to highlight is the games, right? If you open up PS5, PS4s, Xbox, all that stuff, right? You have, especially PS5. My kids play it actually today. They are, if you take FIFA 2023, it has amazing graphics. Stunning graphics, in fact, actually. You know, when I say these opportunities, I don't mean honestly, some silly stuff. So we have these games that we can certainly develop. A couple of ideas there, right? There could be a game on geography of Ramayana. There's a book actually written by a former, I think, ISRO scientist, Geography of Ramayana. We can build a game. Another one is, I would say, Rivers of Rigveda. It's the same scientist who has that. So we have to look at building such games. These are, remember, these are all big ticket items. I don't think it can be done in a volunteer effort. These are $50 million, $100 million investment expenses just to build these games. These are just some ideas for us to ponder over. Obviously, there are limitations, right? Volunteerism can only take you so far. Funding, self-funding and GoFundMe campaigns cannot take you anywhere, actually. I think we need to corporatize all these efforts. Access. I lost access simply because I could not afford $40,000 per month to get Twitter data. So access is an issue. I don't know whether it's possible to actually, what do I say? It's possible to solve that problem, but that's actually a limitation that I have actually faced. Threats posed by AI. I don't have much time, I guess, so I'll just stick to a few things. You know, Obama bombed the hell out of Pakistan and Afghanistan during his regime using drones. Drones did not decide to kill people. It was Obama or his general decided. But the real threat today with AI is an autonomous machine deciding whom to kill. That's actually an unethical use of AI. AI researchers don't actually believe in that, actually. You know? Another one is robotic boss. I'm an IT guy. If I'm asked to write a tool for performance management, I don't want the tool to evaluate my own performance, right? I don't want to sign my own death warrant, actually. So that is actually an unethical issue as well. And then there's a question of privacy and ethics, which can simply be resolved using this framework: accountability, responsibility, transparency. As long as if you build a tool using AI, and if you want to make clear statements that will declare your accountability, responsibility, and transparency, that's how you actually cover and deal with some of the issues that will be, that will come up. There are quite a lot of things happening on this front. I'll probably take extra 30, 40 seconds. I'll be done very soon. Quite a lot of things happening on this front. There are a lot of initiatives on creating these Bharat GPTs, blah, 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 all that stuff. How do I know? Because my son and his former classmate, they both are looking at it, developing something for Vedic Renaissance, and more of a commercial effort. These are not volunteer efforts. So that's something that I have actually researched to find out what's happening on the ground. There are many initiatives. They are all fragmented and disjointed, which leads me to the next point. I think my suggestion here is, I know there are 7 forums here. Hopefully for the next World Hindu Conference, they would, I would like to see them add another forum called Hindu Technology Forum, which will just not be ornamental in nature. I would like that forum to actually take stewardship of all these disjointed initiatives, bring it under one umbrella, help people connect, collaborate, offer research support, provide needs for people to create all these GPTs. And then, perhaps, run a center of excellence for AI. AI is changing every day, actually, right? Perhaps run a center of excellence and be that thread that Anand Narasimhan actually mentioned in the last session, be the thread for the technology folks. And obviously, dollar support is essential for it. I am pretty much done. I just want to leave this for 10 seconds. I owe a lot of gratitude for a number of people who helped me along this journey as I built this tool. Many of them you probably may actually some of them are some of my close buddies as well. I'm not going to read all of them. There is Mr. Vikram Sharma sitting right here, Hindu Post. He's the one who invited me for this talk. This is it. And, I have all these reports. If you are interested in it, you can scan the QR code. It's in my Google Drive. So you have to request access for it. I will be able to provide you access later on. That would be it, folks. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Now invite Abhijit Majumder. Great show.
Oh, thank you.
Great show.
No, इसके पहले क्या है? Oh, okay. How do I change it? Okay. Namaskar. Before beginning, I must thank the organizers of the World Hindu Congress, Vikram in specific, and every single person, the sponsors, who has made this possible. I'll start with a personal anecdote, because that takes us straight to the problem. I don't know, it just, okay. On September 30th of this year, I got a call from CNN News 18 office. where I am a consulting editor, that 4 Tamil Nadu policemen have come looking for me, apparently to arrest me. And this is in Noida. The headquarters are in Noida. So they've traveled all the way from Chennai to, to sort of arrest me for writing a piece countering Uday Stalin's call to exterminate Sanatan Dharma, and also countering Periyar's poisonous political ideology. Now, I've had to go to Chennai later on and to, obviously press lawyers. I'm fighting the thing in court. That's not all. In June, Congress party sent a legal notice to me on a most innocuous article. If you read it, you'll laugh. It was on how Rahul Gandhi's urban sensibilities stop him from understanding what India is. That. Now, now, I am one of the examples, and I'm sure in this gathering there are many more. I'm one of the examples of how fuzzy laws and badly drafted media policies translate in real life in the media space. Do I care? I don't. But my point is that news policy and regulation on news is so complex, so fraught with self-goals, that to cover it in 10 to 12 minutes is impossible, but I'll try to take you through a bullet point type thing as quickly as possible and make some suggestions at the end. I hope I get it. I think I will keep it there. Huh? Okay. Clearly, PowerPoint was not made for me. On policy, regulation, and execution, the cornerstone of journalism in India is Article 19, which guarantees freedom of speech. Now, that also happens to be the first amendment to the Constitution by Jawaharlal Nehru. And on the other side of the extremely stormy, bitter, fierce debate was Shama Prasad Mukherjee, who argued that don't kill freedom of speech by what you are calling reasonable restrictions and so on. Interestingly, ideologically diverse people like Acharya Kriplani and Jayaprakash Narayan were on SP Mukherjee's side on the debate. After that, after emergency, this Press Council of India was formed in 1978, a self-regulatory body to basically make Indian journalism better. A similar body is the Editors Guild. I'm asking you, have they been able to make Indian journalism better? Why? Because they're toothless. They can admonish, they can't punish. And thank God for that. Because these self-regulatory bodies are basically pompous little extensions of Lutyens' Delhi. They are basically, some retired judges, editors approaching irrelevance, Adhimanna Patrakars, and senior journalists who are basically have been parasites of the system for decades. They are members of these statutory bodies, and they don't deserve the power to censor. More recently, there has been CMA, Central Media Accreditation Guidelines. I mean, accreditation to a journalist can be withdrawn.
The Arabs that lived in British Mandate Palestine welcomed Jews from all over the world after the Holocaust happened. And what did the Jews...
That's for later. So, and then we have the IT Intermediary Guidelines, Digital Media Ethics Code, on which Ishkaran will speak a little more in detail later, so I won't go into it. But which are the provisions of law which are misused the most against Sanatan Dharma or people who champion the cause? There is, of course, I have some of them slapped on me. Section 153A of IPC, which penalizes for promoting enmity between groups. It's a completely bizarre, abstract, overarching term. You can pull anybody into it. Also, Section 295A of IPC. Again, punishment for deliberate and malicious acts that are intended to outrage religious feelings. Then there is Section 505 of IPC, which forbids intent to incite or reports containing rumor or alarming news with intent to create enmity. They are well-meaning sections, but they're widely misused, mainly by the anti-Hindu forces. But should we scrap these legal provisions? Although I am a sufferer, I would say no, not yet, not now. Why? Because people who misuse these provisions, we must remember that they also wield tremendous street power. They also have control over academia and media to whitewash stuff that they do. Hindus have neither. We haven't developed the kind of street power, intimidatory power, nor the control of media so far. And so we need, we can't give up the regulations that we still have. In terms of execution of laws, Bharat has not shown enough intent yet. Abroad, Google's parent company, Alphabet, is facing investigations in Germany, US, Mexico, for monopolistic practices and unauthorized collection of biometric data. Amazon is facing legal action in US and UK for secretive algorithm. Apple has been sued in Britain, EU, Brazil, Meta in the US, EU, Norway, Microsoft in EU. Twitter has gone through prolonged Senate questioning. Indian authorities, after much pressure, have merely managed to get Twitter, Facebook, etc., to acquiesce to basic laws of the land, and they've finally done it. But after that, we haven't seen much action on, to asking them to reveal their algorithms, etc., etc. Shadow banning and other forms of bias are still very much in place. On tech-driven content and news media regulations, I'm a co-founder of Earshot, which is India's first Dolby Atmos-enabled podcast, audio, video platform and production house. So, we deal with technology a lot, but in this, I'll quickly say that I've observed two things that probably we need to think about. One is good techies and good content creators seldom come together. They are almost dismissive about each other. When you are forming a tech platform, you just concentrate on the tech platform, thinking content is secondary. With content creators, it's the reverse. VCs almost often predicate funding on whether a startup has a great tech team. Instead, they should be putting in their money and saying that, okay, build a great tech team, if you don't. So these are the two things. Fourth is Bharat ready for a Gaza-scale information war? Let's ask 7 questions quickly. Do Bharatiya government proxies or prominent Bharatiya billionaires invest in large and influential international media houses? Or have we created our equivalent of Al Jazeera, CNN, BBC, etc.? 1. Have we cracked the fact-check ecosystem, which Ram had just spoken about. It's entirely monopolized by the left ecosystem, not just in India, but globally. And they are supposed to be the harbingers of objectivity, etc. See, do we focus on creating content in sleek, attractive forms which the left ecosystem has long mastered? Again, we focus on content, which is great, but not on the form, not on the design, not on the presentation. Bharat is doing some pretty advanced research in AI. Are we linking tech with our news and content? 5, are we creating content creators outside mainstream media and usual suspects on local social media? Example, how Israel and pro-Palestine lobbies are using extremely presentable, articulate youngsters to make short viral videos in the war narrative. The video that accidentally played was about that. So, and lastly, have we changed our colonial syllabus, which is the greatest nuclear weapon of information that we have used against ourselves? The answer to all the questions, I suspect, is no. If anybody has a different opinion, I would love to be proven wrong. I'll finish with a few suggestions on the way ahead. I think we should move away. We keep the regulation that we have, but we should move away from regulation to disruption. Regulation is not the forte of nationalists. Modi government came to power not because of regulation, but because of disruption, because citizens independently and in groups took on, and completely created disruptive content, created memes, created humor, satire, etc., and, blew them out of the water. We should not shoot ourselves in the foot by over-regulating, because the same regulations will come back to haunt us the moment there is not a hostile government comes back to power. Then we need to combine smart content with latest tech. The one, I just spoke about it. We need to use virtual reality, augmented reality, gaming, etc., etc. Way back in 2004, America, Uruguay, even Estonia were using online games for political persuasion before elections. We can think of something, and 2D, 2.5D, 3D animation, virtual reality can be used to create content. See, in post-Cold War, America's Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck faded, Soviets' sporting power faded, and Japan's manga rose. The manga comics of Japan in terms of popular culture, nightlife in Dubai, Indian and Chinese food, fashion, street fashion in Korea, they rose. And that was the beginning of a multipolar world. The last to this thing is converge efforts, disciplines, talent, and investment. I mean, this is why a conference like this is so important, to bring together content creators, investors, other talent, etc., etc. If Zubair does a post, it is, Al Jazeera talks about it, then some reward committee, Western, they give them a prize, it comes back to India, and people think that, oh, they're doing, such great journalism. India can actually be the most powerful information force in the world. And lastly, fix our education. Fix our education, roll out the national education policy as fast as possible, overhaul the national curriculum framework, purge the school books of colonial, Islamist, and leftist lies and filth, strengthen learning in mother tongue and don't let go of English as the international bridge language, introduce basic Bharatiya philosophy from primary school, fix education. half of this civilization's challenges will disappear in the next 1 or 2 generations if we fix that, because that is the source code. Thank you, and sorry for exceeding the time limit.
I now invite Ishkaran Bhandari to share his thoughts.
Namaskar. I would like to first begin by thanking the organizers, because I believe we all owe a debt of gratitude to them for enabling us to come to this august event and expand our horizons, our knowledge. I personally, and I'm sure all of you, have gained a lot by attending the various sessions and interacting with the people, and I hope to contribute a bit to this in the privilege given to me to address this august audience. Firstly, we have to understand the scale of revolution we are in. Every 10, 50 years, it's called a revolutionary time. But this truly, since the beginning of mankind, since the history of mankind, is a revolution which has never happened before. It's not a revolution on the form of government. We'll have monarchy or republican, or you will have a capitalist system or a communist system, which goes through its cycles every 50, 100, 200 years, which is a very long time. This is the first time in history that one individual, without the government or a gatekeeper, can address billions of people. This has never happened before since the mass communication started, whether it be a hand-drawn painting or a letter, or when printing press came, books, newspapers, radio, TV. Every mass communication had an editor. The editor would decide what you can publish. The capitalist will control that means of publication. The government had to deal with a few people, a few business owners, a few media houses, a few editors, and it could regulate news. This is the first time where those regulations failed initially with the rise of internet. And I say the word initially because that is the whole topic of this debate. Because initially it was supposed that all these social media intermediaries, which are allowing one individual to talk to billions of people if his content is good, would be a mechanism which would be fair. It will be like a road. It will not have any bias. It will be the same road for every driver. If it has potholes, it will be potholes for everybody. If it is smooth, it will be smooth for everybody. And that was enabled by a law. Section 230 came in USA, which effectively is called 26 words which launched the internet. In Indian context, it's Section 79 of our IT Act, which said that these platforms are not publishers, are not editors. What Abhijit was saying right now, before this, the legal basis was that if anything is published in a newspaper or on TV, the editor as well as the author of that article or the journalist is responsible. Both are responsible, the gatekeeper as well as the actual writer. Now this changed it dramatically. It said that publisher is not responsible because it has no agenda, it has no agency in deciding what you're writing. It's like a road. You shoot on it, you are responsible. You have an accident on it, you are responsible. You ram your card into somebody, you are responsible. The road is not. Very good, Section 79 brought in. What happened is, the state strikes back, the empire strikes back, the big business, the government, it cannot allow a road like that. It cannot allow an individual to address crores of people without any oversight. So the biases start. Unfortunately for India, India has not been in the lead of any of these intermediaries. So this is all US and unfortunately China recently, which created these intermediaries. So the problem we suffer is this. There is bias on these platforms, whether it be shadow banning, whether it be downranking, whether it be banning somebody, whether it be demonetizing accounts because some people are creating it. All these problems have come, and what was supposed to be a medium which will be free and transparent became another form of bias, got a gatekeeper. So once we recognize that these social intermediaries are now performing as per their bias, openly it's been admitted that FBI, CIA control Facebook. They have said that they give access to data. My problems, and I will not talk about the individual cases, it's a bigger problem. Are we having election interference in India? Are they getting the data to understand what enables a person, what a person likes, and then tailoring it to our needs? Are they disrupting our economy? Are they disrupting our social fabric? Are they disrupting our cultural fabric? Those structural issues, I believe the government needs to focus on, rather than what one individual has said about one politician or on one issue, which gets the maximum airtime, which gets the maximum attention. The structural issues are not visible, but they are all pervasive. And I believe the government's role should be to focus on those issues to reduce those vulnerabilities. US has a very expansive definition of national security. It says if you are biasing their policies, if you are affecting their stock market, that is a national security threat. India needs to have an all-encompassing definition of national security. A bomb blast is obviously a matter of national security. But these hidden aspects, I believe, are a graver danger because they fundamentally and structurally change our election, our polity, our culture, and our existence as a nation. The other aspect of this is the OTT platforms. Technically, these are two very separate discussions we are having, but because OTT has also risen a lot in India, what is being shown here culturally affects us in real time. For example, Diwali is obviously a polluting agent, so you do not burst crackers. Holi is, of course, a means of eve-teasing, where every guy is out to eve-tease a girl. Rakhi, of course, is patriarchy, and why would a woman, independent modern woman, want to believe in Rakhi? Karwa Chauth is patriarchy raised to power 10. Dahi Handi is very dangerous and can be risky if you perform it. Jallikattu is cruelty to animal. So everything starts from cultural aspects, and if they teach this culture to your kid, no matter what you say, if he thinks that you are a stupid person who's causing pollution or you are a regressive person, that is why you believe in Rakhi, your argument has already failed because they have already won the narrative war. So those sort of narrative wars are what is happening on OTT platform, which has to be understood. But I am not in favor of too much regulation here. Yes, of course, the regulation has to exist and exists both for social media intermediaries as well as OTT platforms when it comes to adult content, when it comes to sexual content. Our IT Act has enough sections in it. Our IPC has enough sections in it if you are talking about sexual content. But the battle is graver. It is below the surface. You see so many reels nowadays being made, if you're talking about culture, where people are scantily dressed on railways and they are shooting those reels. How many such people will you arrest unless you understand the larger problem? The other aspect of this problem, if I may say, is how these social media platforms have developed in a global way without taking into sensibilities of India. India has the largest population. If you see the Israel-Hamas war, 80% of support to Israel has come from India, from Bharat. If it was not there, there would be complete one-sided agenda, which would run because the population which Israel is fighting in Hamas and its supporters is way vaster. So that is our strength. Our ability to set global narratives is our strength. But are we able to set even Indian narratives? And for that, if a China can create global platforms like TikTok, India thankfully banned it. But forget US for a second. Are we creating Indian platforms which go global, which people all over the world use? Because unless they are global, you will not have mass acceptance in youth, because the youth wants to be able to deal with singers who are abroad, for Hollywood stars who are abroad, models who are abroad. So your focus has to be creating a platform which stands on its own and is able to compete with global forces. Only then, in the age of internet, would you be able to be local. Without being global, you can't be local in information age. I somehow feel too much effort is placed on being local. It is very good if you're talking within India. But when we are talking national security and long-term effects, it has to be global. When it comes to regulations, there are certain regulations which are being brought. There is a case going on in Bombay High Court because fact-checking units have been proposed by these regulations, and the government has said we are not implementing them till the High Court decides the case. The High Court judgment is supposed to come. The order has been reserved it's coming on 1st December. But before you have a national fact check, Karnataka, where the government changes, already announces we will have a fact check unit. And we can all understand who will be the leads in those fact checking units. And they get an advantage. It's not a level playing field because their fact checkers get approval from European nations, Western democracies, the lobbies, leftist lobbies there. So because there are so many people from outside India here, we need to create those accreditations for Indic fact checkers also from these institutions, because it is only when you get globally recognized that it becomes easier for you to operate locally also, because most of these companies just frame the rules like this. It said a man with a briefcase can steal 100 times more than a man with a gun. That's what they are doing. Because they are able to give platforms globally, accreditation globally to their fact checkers, then it becomes very easy for a global company like Facebook or Meta to say and comply with the US laws that we are relying on these people because they are globally recognized. Our strength is our diaspora. Are we checking all those boxes? Are we building global platforms, or are our laws tailored only for local situations? Most things, I think our laws have to be local, except internet. Because this is a revolution which is very different from every other revolution. If you look at it only locally, then I think, like that elephant story, you're looking only at the tail or only at the leg. You have to see the whole globe and then bias your system with government regulations, with government laws, so that you can perform in it globally. But it's not new if we come to solutions. It's always been like that in the history of mankind. And I disagree a little bit with Abhijit Dada, where he says that don't have regulations. On structural issues, you need regulations. On national security issues, you need regulations. Unfortunately, our bureaucracy is usually about local issues. How do we control one group of people? How do we ensure that our government is not criticized on some economic or policy issue? How do we secure that a politician is not criticized? What was Section 6A? Annoyance caused to anybody would result in jail to you. And reality is all bureaucracies like this law. One government brought in, the other government, when in opposition, said, we will stop this. When they came to power, they defended it. Because bureaucrat likes to have control over his local area. CM likes to have control over his local population. There, I am not pro-regulation, because there I adopt his point. Right-wing, nationalists, whatever word, dharmic people, whatever word you say, will suffer in it. But on structural issues, if you do not bring the law, if you are scared of wielding power, then somebody else will wield the power when his time comes. And one example, I'm not speaking on that topic, see the temple laws. The temple takeover has become embedded in an economic system in a manner that very, very difficult for even a dharmic chief minister or a dharmic prime minister to break that system. That is what law does. It creates an embedded system. Whereas in temple takeover laws or places of worship act, Hindus say sirf liya, it's been take. See on the other side, the Waqf Act, it's all about give. There will be sessions on that, I presume, so I will not speak more on that. But that is one factor to show the power of law. So while you are in power, make those structural laws wisely, else we will be back to the same problem which we have had with these temple takeover laws, places of worship act, Waqf Act, etc., because governments come and go. But legal systems, once they come in place, they are permanent because there is too much pain in changing them. I will just end up by saying this. So use this time wisely. Think globally. It's not a local issue. It's not a local problem. Do not focus on controlling one individual or one criticism. Focus on national security, economic, and all these structural big-ticket issues. That is the only way Bharat can be secure. Thank you.
All of us would agree that we have had a very great session. Ramsundar was very, very precise when it came to Hindu hate and atrocities. He identified the problem, provided solutions, also challenges, and also gave us a feel-good feeling also, you know, that how things are changing, how things are taking shape. The way he suggested on how to track Hindu hate in a very structured manner, anti-Hindu scoreboard, fake news buster, multilingual translation. I think these are very, very important suggestions. And his exposition on artificial intelligence, now it can help in taking the nationalist agenda forward, was superb. So I really appreciate the way he put his thoughts before us. Abhijit Majumder was also very precise. His talk about regulations being not the only answer to the problems we are facing in terms of anti-Hindu elements. We have to go forward. We have to build our own Al Jazeera, he said. We have to have our own BBC, our own CNN. And from regulation, we have to go to disruption. That is how we can protect our long-term interests. He also gave examples of how he was hounded using the same laws by the Tamil Nadu government. And I think these real examples are very helpful to us in deciding our future course in terms of the technological challenges and the regulation challenges. Ishkaran Bhandari was also very, very profound in the way he put his thoughts before us. Basically, what I could make out of him was that we should have our own platforms at the international level. We are trying to have, but then we are not succeeding. So we want them to succeed, and how our platforms would be launched and succeed. I think that thing we should bear in mind before launching the platforms. He also spoke about less regulation and making regulations with a long-term view, because the same regulations can really torment us in future when there is a anti-Hindu government, a secular, so-called pseudo-secular government in power. He also spoke about how the social media handles controlled by foreign powers are being manipulated against us, and very openly. And he and both Abhijit said that we have not been able to do much about it. We have taken some steps, you know. So I think this discussion has led to some good suggestions, good solutions. I think if we bear it in mind, we'll have a much better course ahead of us when it comes to the challenges which are there on the topic we are discussing today. Thank you. Now I'll leave open the floor for questions.
So please keep your questions short and precise,
please,
and we will hold the mic for you.
And one thing I noticed in the last discussion was that people were sharing their own experiences. I think here we need to be very, very aware that time is at a premium, and the question should be precise and direct. Pravinji, can you give him the mic?
Namaste, my question is to Ishkaranji. I'm Praveen Chaturvedi, filmmaker. We have this first Hindu OTT Prachyam. You talked about, about the shadow banning and all these measures, these big tech companies and these platforms they put, We have been a great victim of this. Like on Diwali day, we had made a video which was banned in 1 hour. And then we put it on other platforms. It really became viral, 2 crore views in a day. And then they reinstated it back, saying that it was removed on wrong reasons. Now my question to you is, what we can do as like OTT platform, which are like absolutely aligned with the cause of Bharat and cause of Hindus, and there are so many of other platforms as well. What we can do legally, what should be done? They are operating in our country, but you know why it was banned? You know, because it told the story of Ram Mandir movement. So aren't we allowed to tell our stories through these platforms?
See, these are the exact things which I believe the government needs to regulate. If you are operating in India and an individual content creator, there are two ways they do it. YouTube, they don't monetize you for 48 hours, which is basically the views. And then they say, we have reviewed the process, and yes, it is a monetizable video, whereas those who are doing it for meeting their expenses don't get to meet it. Or on OTT platforms, they will either not publish it, or they will block it, or they will delete it. And every movie is, or every content, piece of content is first 24 hours or first 12 hours is where it gets either viral or it dies, because it's a very rapid world. So this is where the government needs to step in demonstrable cases of bias. They need to impose penalties. Ireland has imposed a $2 billion penalty for competitive monopolist practices. EU has imposed $1 billion, $1.5 billion penalties. The only way these big tech companies understand if it affects their stock price. If there are billions of dollars of penalties, then one case at 5 cases or it's 10 cases and they have to pay all those penalties for the cost, etc., 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 that will drive the message home. For that, we need to have a proper regulatory system as well as decisiveness in giving big amounts of damages to control these foreign companies. Short of that, it doesn't happen. So these are ideal places for legal regulations to stop them.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Parekh and I'm from New York. My question is for Ishkaran Bhandari, since he's a Supreme Court advocate. Like, how do you deal with anti-Hindu influencers and fake news peddlers like Zubair, Wire, Quint, and how do you deal with when they get so much protection from our courts, and how do we demolish their lies and hold them accountable in spite of such hostile judges that give them protection and bail instantly?
There are 3 questions in one in this, so I will try to address them all, because they're all 3 separate fields, even though they appear to be the same. See, the first aspect of that is the exact debate. Do we need 153A and 295A law? I'll tell you, as a person who thinks he is a liberal, I was vehemently against these laws. I think there should not be a control on free speech. If one side can say, the other side should be able to say. But then as I grew up or I became more conservative, one side has street power, the other side doesn't have street power. And so there has to be some accountability, because we are not living in France or in some other country where if a street power is used on a particular issue, they will beam it on towers, they will beam it on buildings. So that doesn't happen in India. So that becomes for a person who's a free speech absolutist, it becomes a very difficult question for me to answer. Should there be 153A, 295A? Those are the laws of hate speech. Should they be there or should they not be there? But the other aspect that you're saying is what roles the courts are playing. See, by and large, the courts have to lean, even if it's a case of 153A on, for example, Abhijit. Those are the same sections. He got relief because the courts invariably lean and have to lean in speech cases towards individual liberty. If they do not lean towards individual liberty, he should be in jail. That's one example. What happens is in our passion, we think only the other side will go to jail. Only the other side has said something which can come under the 4 corners of law. That doesn't happen. And the other side, I may say, a journalist gets way more relief from court than an individual person who is tweeted or said on Facebook. Because he comes to court saying, I'm a journalist in this media organization. Whereas an individual person and the journalist, effectively there is no journalist today. Everybody is a journalist if he has a phone, right? You have a radio, you have a TV. But the definitions of a journalist, even though it's not legal, but everybody knows the factors which go in. So if you see a big media organization, a big journalist versus an individual content creator, it will become tougher for you if the judges were to send people to jail. So those are, again, as I said, issues where while we are not in power, we do not want those laws. While we are in power, we want those laws. On balance, we have to see, unless we can make it absolute free speech, where a Nupur Sharma doesn't have her life effectively, public life effectively ended, you will need to have these laws in place.
I'll just add 30 seconds I'll take to add to this. To counter somebody like a Zubair or whoever does all this, See, you must understand how they function. I mean, alt news, what is its revenue? Almost zilch. But it runs for years and years, extremely lavishly. You know, everybody gets paid very well. There is a proper ecosystem, not just funding it, but defending it and amplifying it. So this is where event like this or you know, other efforts we have to converge our efforts into building much bigger platforms than alt news maybe. You know, and Up India still sort of doesn't get the kind of support that it deserves. You know, we need 10 Up Indias.
So I have a question for Ramsundarji. You did mention...
After this.
The question is for Ramsundarji. You mentioned content creation in multiple languages, especially to take the content to across the world. Is AI ready now to do the dubbing into different languages? And the reason I'm asking, right, many of our serials like Ramayana and Mahabharat needs to be dubbed into English and many other languages to make it available for children who cannot read, because once they start reading the subtitles, they lost interest already. And of course, there is a commercial value for the global market for something like that also. And I think same thing is applicable to films like Kashmir Files and others.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Question is AI ready, or can AI do dubbing of movies or any film type?
I don't think AI is 100% ready. Translation is still not perfect yet, actually. What it can, however, do is, if you employ translators, it can probably optimize that cost. I don't think it's 100% ready yet, but it's getting there as it's improving. You know, next few years, I think we'll see a major improvement. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please give it to him.
Hello, my name is Subhas Thakarar. I'm here from UK. This is a slightly tangential question, and you might, I just would really love a comment, because there's some very interesting speakers in the panel who have made some remarkable kind of commentary, which I really take back with me. The issue that we have in the West are even the most established media, like the Financial Times, the Times of UK and others, even BBC, have got something like a bee in the bonnet where they are anti-Hindu. We notice it regularly all the time. We try to correct them, but we are not succeeding. And I attended these sessions particularly with a view to wanting to request and comment to see what people such as the panelists can achieve with AI and other technology. What can we do to change the mindset? Because the mindset is wrong. It's not factually correct. Because when you really look at the Hindu values and the Hindu way of doing things, it should be respected, it should be valued, but it's not getting done. It's on the contrary, it's looked at negatively. So I don't know whether you can comment on it. It's slightly tangential, but I'd be very interested. Thank you.
Whom do you want to answer?
Anyone, please. I think you all are very bright to be able to comment.
Should I say something? Of course. I think if you compare the situation in UK with the kind of influence Islamists have, our influence is much less. Numbers are good. Influence is less. And BBC is stuffed with anti-Hindu Muslims, I would say very clearly. BBC is stuffed with such people, you know. So I think with the help of thinkers here in India, you have to make a strategy as to how to bring them under control, you know. I'm sure there are ways you can do it. No, I think you have to sit together, put your minds, you know, and then think about it. I don't think there is any. We have Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam with us. which nobody has, with such an ideology, why we should lose? We should be winning. I think that confidence we should have. Of course, you have to take the help of people here, on ideas, on how to go about, how to structure it, But after all, you'll have to do it there. The mayor of London is a Muslim fellow. So, and there was one home minister, I forget his name, about 4, 5 years, 6, 10 years ago. He was guided by Jack, what is his name? He was completely guided by the Islamist lobby. He was Home Secretary about 10 years ago, I think. So I think we have to create that that ecosystem there, and we have people who are moneyed. I think we have to apply our mind. The way the Muslims fight for their religion, we should also fight. And our fight is very positive.
Okay, that lady is asking.
Our fight is for the way our Honorable Prime Minister is putting it again and again, that India getting stronger is the world getting stronger. We are for mankind, with such an ideology with us. Why should we not succeed? That is my point. Sorry.
Okay, final 2 questions, one from that side and then one from here, and then we will wrap up.
Okay. My name is Karishma. I'm representing my own radio and YouTube channel, Radio Karishma. So mine is more of a comment on Uday Mahurkar ji's initial comment about why coup did not succeed, the platform, Chinese. And I personally feel that we should not compare our system with Chinese system, because their platforms succeed because of they banned rest of the other platforms, and then they launched they are giving them alternative, and they are not giving them alternative. And the other observation that I feel my always been for coup, because I quit Twitter and I joined coup and hoping. But then I think why coup died was because of lack of originality. Coup was also in English. It's not that the coup was in Hindi. Had it been in Hindi, अगर हिंदी में होता तो शायद हिंदी के लोग जो हैं वो coup को prefer करते.
Point taken.
So I think we lack originality.
Point
so
taken.
Just my humble comment.
One last comment from me. I'll just take 1 minute. I want to compliment Abhijit Majumder, the kind of work he has done. In 2019, he did a story how 500 Rohingyas came to India, went to Deoband. We should be targeting Deoband. Went to Deoband. They were directed to settle in Aligarh. They settled down in Aligarh. They opened an illegal madrasa, and their numbers are now, they've exceeded 800. This was in, I think, 2020, Abhijit?
Yeah, it was in My Nation.
This was a beautiful investigation. So I think there are many holes we have to plug. Otherwise, this can't happen, all these Bangladeshi and Rohingyas come, not Rohingyas exactly, but Bangladeshis. They are able to easily make their ration card. Aadhaar card also. So I think national security with technology available, we should be able to tackle it, rather counter it.
Hello.
One last question.
Yeah. My name is Dhananjay Bhede from San Diego, California. We all know just in the last 10 years, the evidence of there is first movers advantage. Once Facebook took over, MySpace was gone. With X or Twitter being around, coup is gone, right? Why shouldn't India be flexing its muscles and ban the ChatGPTs or Google Bards of the world? Because 5 years from now, if we create an Indian version of ChatGPT, that's going to meet the same fate as coup. So why shouldn't India flex its muscle and not care what the world thinks? After 9/11, US did not care what others think. They are able to track everybody's phone calls and emails. China doesn't care what the world thinks. They ban things that they don't like, Google, Gmail, whatever. So why shouldn't India be doing the same? And why should we keep caring what the rest of the world thinks about us?
India has banned Chinese apps. India has banned TikTok. But banning of everything is not a solution. You cannot stop the progress of the world. We do not have the luxury of 5 years so that chat GDP becomes exponential abroad. And we said, we will have to create a chat GDP or whatever it is because you're in the tech right now. In today's world, you don't have the luxury of isolationism. That for 5 years you shut the border, for 5 years you shut the trade, for 10 years you do this, till you develop and then you enter into the world. You are in the world right now. So because we have all these tech brains, we need to create it right now. If we can create it right now, of course, you have to put your muscle behind it, but that is the problem. How many, and I take an example that China is a monopoly, but TikTok became a global player. It became a global brand. India had to ban it. The FBI director calls it a screaming threat to national security. Still, US has not been able to ban TikTok because it has become a global player. So till the time, a lot of issues you can have closed borders. On immigration especially, you need to have closed borders, Rohingyas. But in tech, closed borders will not work. You have to factor that in and then make your action plan.
I think we wind up here. Very fruitful discussion. I think all the three panelists came up with, identified the problems, gave very good solutions also. The challenges ahead, I think we have a good way forward from now onwards on this subject. Thank you. Thank you so much.